Yo, Krishna. Yeah, that's it. Give it to me. Oh, Bhaji Govinda, Bhaji Gopala, Keshava Malavadina Dayam. Well, Bhaji Govinda, Bhaji Gopala. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and kids, to another fun episode of Doc Talk with Doc PHINEAS. And I have a really exciting episode for you today because this is going to be a little bit like watching Archeology 101. We have two great archaeologists here, and I have a wonderful guest who, like myself, has spent a great deal of his life not only as looking at archaeology and doing whatever he can do to help preserve what's there, but he's also a great photographer. So he's out there definitely taking pictures of all of that, and he's a big guy for going to Burning Man, and just a wonderful all-around friend of mine, and that is James Stanley Daugherty. So welcome, James. Hello, and welcome to our show, and I'm always glad to get to see you because, well, we used to be neighbors.
We used to be neighbors.
And it's interesting, James lives in a place that I did a lot of feng shui on, and then now you are living in Mexico primarily, like south of the border.
South of the border.
And how is that? I'm so curious to just know, has that been a good experience moving? Is it challenging? What sort of things are going on?
It's challenging. It's fascinating. Now, I do not have a gift for languages.
Right.
But when I go back and I'm like going to the towns there, on one hand, they look so foreign. On the other hand, they look like home.
Yeah.
This is sort of my home now.
Of course.
And it's just, that when you go to different cultures, there are subtle differences in things, and then there are some blatant things, but it's just the fact that people think differently across the planet.
Well, and remarkably enough, you and I were talking about how, you just go across that border into Mexico, and here there are neighbors, of course, and
yes.
And we've had such a cultural exchange over the years, but it is very, very different life in Mexico with a lot of tribal groups. In fact, the whole place to me always appeared, and I've been on several archaeological projects down there, like in Durango, and then further down in Jalisco, and on Lake Chapala, and there is a completely different culture there than what we know in the United States, I believe.
Oh, yes there is. Yes there is. And there's also the wonderful thing of the indigenous people there really have a connection with the archaeology. And, legends have grown up around the archaeological sites, and the archaeologists have come in there, and, the Mayans gave us some wonderful gifts. That 1,000 years ago, their calendar was the most accurate on the planet. And they had systems of writing, and they built in stone.
Yes, to last a long time, and pyramids.
Pyramids. Well,
are absolutely magnificent. It's either Mayan culture, or you find them in Egypt.
Yeah.
Or you might find a pyramid occasionally in India. But that's a great interesting fact.
Yeah, but the fact is that on a practical level, they could have used wood and sticks, like the peasant houses.
Of course.
This would have worked functionally.
Right.
But no, we're worshiping our gods. Our gods deserve a stone temple, a stone pyramid.
And as you say, the North American Indians have a tendency to build in wood, and they were somewhat nomadic.
Yes.
And so you have wigwams. But these people were like, bam, these things were built to last thousands of years, literally.
And I've done like North American archaeology, where we get excited about post holes showing a house was there.
Right.
Archaeologists get excited about it. Not a lot of other people get excited by the post holes.
Yeah, that can be very true. Hey, so there is a rumor floating around that you have pyramids.
Well, yes. Yes, I do.
Is that true? You actually
The-
do you actually have a pyramid?
It's not a big pyramid. It probably isn't any taller, than your place here.
Really?
But it is a bona fide Maya pyramid.
Wow.
And
How cool.
I mean, well, everybody knows that the ancient Maya built these fabulous big cities.
Right.
And
right.
they did.
Uh-huh.
But they also had little manor houses and roadside shrines and smaller villages. The area was extremely populated, so they had like all these structures out there, most of which, I mean, the group knows where they are,
Right.
but the tourists just go to the tourist sites where they have manicured lawns.
Of course.
And there's
Of
nothing
course.
wrong with this. No. I prefer a manicured lawn over having to hire guys with machetes.
So, you actually have a lodge, right? Where
Yes.
people can come and stay with you, and then do you go out on jeeps and you get to visit those? You're basically in the Yucatan, right?
We're in the Yucatan.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with Mexican geography, the Yucatan is the southern part where the peninsula sort of comes up there.
Right.
If you go to New Orleans and go straight down south,
You'll hit the Yucatan.
You get to Yucatan.
Yeah,
yes,
right,
yes,
right.
yes. And the ancient Maya culture, I mean, you walk out and you see people's houses,
Uh-huh.
very modest houses. Some of them even stick and dabble houses there. Some, made of concrete blocks.
Uh-huh.
And in the front yard, the patio is made from stones from ancient pyramids from 1,000 years ago.
Wow. So I understand how they do that in France as well. They'll pull a stone, and I'm sitting there reading inscriptions like an ancient Roman, and they're basically building with old rocks.
Well, as an engineer, it makes sense. Why should I quarry when I've got cut stone
You've
right
already
here?
got good stone that's lasted 1,000 years. Why not?
As an archaeologist, no! But I have to admit
Yeah.
that the ancient Maya did that as well.
Yeah,
That they would take apart an old temple to use the stones to build a new one.
Very good point.
So I really
Good
can't say that
point.
that it's the Spanish and the gringos that have, or the mestizos who have done this outrage. No, it's a tradition.
So tell us about your lodge now. Is this 5-star accommodation, or personally, I kind of like to rough it. So I just came from a safari where I was staying in tents with mosquito nets. Is it that level?
No,
or-
no,
Oh, okay.
no. We cater to people who want adventures, but a comfortable adventure.
Ah, there you go.
I mean,
good.
we don't discourage backpackers from coming.
Right, of course.
And they'll come there because they want to have a night, with air conditioning, no mosquitoes around them, hot showers, and a swimming pool.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
But-
and probably great food too. Knowing
Yes.
because you're a great cook, I always love
no,
eating your food.
They don't let me in the kitchen. No, our ladies there cook Maya dishes that they learned from their mothers and grandmothers.
Oh, so it's traditional food.
It's traditional food, but they also
Wow.
do like some experimental things. And says, well, do you want to try this dish here?
Cool.
So it's a combination of traditional Yucatecan food and their own inventions.
Far out.
Now
That's great.
we're not a full restaurant. We only serve our guests.
Okay.
But I eat very well when I'm here.
Well, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. So, let's say we go down there and
Go
we
down
stay
there.
with
Yes,
you.
yes.
And your inn is the Flycatcher Inn,
The
right?
Flycatcher Inn, yes.
And that refers to a particular breed of bird.
Very good.
Species of bird that's it's you're not talking about going out and catching flies like
No. These birds feed on insects while flying.
cool.
I mean, they don't bother to, like a robin, go to the earth and pick them up. No.
Right,
They
right.
see them in the air, open their beak, and feed while flying.
That's an amazing species, actually. That's a beautiful bird.
It is a beautiful bird, and they
Wow.
are endemic where we are.
Endemic.
So we can put them, and saying, because you can reasonably expect to see a flycatcher.
Wow, cool.
Well, this is something, like in bringing guests in. Now, most come for the archaeology.
Right.
And I can guarantee you that you will see ruins. I can guarantee this. But I can't guarantee a birder that they're going to see a trogon. I've seen trogons there. I have pictures of trogons there. But I can't guarantee to a birder that they're going to see one.
Of course. So, you leave your lodge and you guys go in jeeps out to sites?
Most of our guests are people who have planned their own trips.
Oh, okay.
We neither get nor want the big tour groups.
Gotcha. Right.
And most people have their own transportation.
Oh, fantastic.
And most of them go out to the sites that are in the guidebooks.
Gotcha.
Most of them have done a plan before they left France, Canada, Buenos Aires, or wherever, and they have their thing picked out.
Ah, I see.
And a lot of them are saying, well, gosh, I wish I could spend more time here. I says, well, you can always come back.
Of course. No, that's wonderful.
And others just show up, and they know when their plane is leaving, and
Right.
each morning they decide, what are we going to do today?
And you can serve as a guide, right?
For there, I'm an expert.
Oh,
You know, I know more about the region than most of them. Now, I
That's
occasionally get specialist archaeologists or botanists who know more about the plants and certain aspects of archaeology than I do.
Right, right.
And for me, I can learn from them.
Of course, of course. That's
Ooh.
good.
But this
You've
is
been
just-
attacked by shamanic stick there that
Okay.
I just brought back from Mombasa.
Okay. So what kind of? Tell me about the stick.
Well, this is basically made of an indigenous ebony, and it's particularly carved as a little bit of a talisman. And the reason why I had it carved this way with the zebra, the lion, and the elephant is because I'm so active in the end extinction movement. So I'm basically used this every day to remind myself and to help me walk through the Kush. But that every day I wake up thinking about these wonderful creatures like elephants that are now almost on endangered species lists.
It's we humans don't have a good track record with this.
No, we don't. We don't.
But on the other hand, some of us humans are marvelous about preserving and
Well,
realizing
yes.
that this is a magical part of the planet.
Exactly.
And to me, it's fascinating, of like there are, canine dog kind of species out there, there are
Right.
big cats out there, and the diversity of species that coexist all over the planet.
Well, it's true, and I think one of the greatest concerns that I've found being out in the field, and I've basically been a field archaeologist since my first year of college at Berkeley, and I've been out there as a field person since 1967, and in that time period, going from 1967 to where we're at right now, which is 2019, I've seen so many different species, not only of just plants, animals, but also tribal groups disappear from the planet. And that was a very, very big concern of mine, thinking that a lot of people are kind of oblivious that we're losing these amazing species, and that it's a very important thing to bring that to the public attention. In India, I was in the Western Ghats, and just in the time period from 67 to 2019, populations like the Todas, the Irilas, the Panyas, the Budagas, the Mulakurumbas, all of these tribal groups that basically go from racial Negroid pygmy at the bottom, 3 feet tall, to 7 feet tall at the Todas, above 7,000 feet. And now they've naturally selected out, and people were bringing me in like, why is this happening? Why are we impotent? Why aren't we having children? Why is the tribe dying? Why are the young people moving away? And so I've spent a lifetime, trying to preserve species and preserve archaeological sites. And I know that you come from the same feeling too about, ending extinction.
Well, yes, it's also, like you mentioned, on the anthropological aspects.
Right.
Like looking over Curtis's things, which were very artificial pictures, but at least
Right.
he captured them,
True.
True. Or Lenny Restafield's book on Africa. I don't know if you've seen that. She
Yep,
went out
absolutely.
looking for these people who were still doing it the old way.
Right. No, this is absolutely true. So,
And to me, it's a shame, where we are, the shops all selling, Pepsi Cola and potato chips.
Right.
Which, to me, I think, no, you don't need this. This is not helpful. But I'm not one to say, no, you can't have it.
well, and we basically export the lowest common denominator of our culture, constantly, to the rest of the world, regardless You know, whatever, whether that culture wants it or not, they're pretty much going to end up with whatever America's marketing in the moment, and they have a tendency to buy into it in the third world, I notice. But the thing for me, I think that's very, very concerning, is just to find out, are there human factors that are actually causing, this extinction to occur? And in the case in India, what we found was that there was a nuclear reactor in the area, and suddenly there's impotency. And so we had to inform, like, the government to let them know that we thought that there was leakage. And when we went in there and checked, there was leakage, and it was causing tribes to go impotent. So those are the important things that I'm trying to jump on scientifically, as well as an archaeologist, saying, protect this site, don't tear this temple down. Like, this is a huge part of your history. And we've had the Taliban and other organizations like blowing up Buddhist shrines, and every time they do that, they blow up a big piece of history for our planet. So that's one reason why I really inserted myself.
But yes, that's the whole thing with archaeology.
Right.
Is that once you've excavated it, it's now in danger.
Right, true.
On the other hand, if you leave it in the ground, you won't know about it.
That's true. And one of the wonderful things right now is the new technology makes it a little bit less invasive.
Yes.
We were in Egypt with a ground scanner, and so we basically scanned all the ground around the pyramids, and for the first time, we have a good map of what's actually underneath the ground there in Egypt. Without having to dig it up and tear it up.
Or like the boxes of bones that were collected
200, 100, even 50 years ago, that now you can do the DNA analysis on them. That wasn't possible then.
Right. No, it's absolutely true. So, now when we go to Egypt, it's a very common thing to take a CAT scan with us. And we're basically putting 3,000-year-old mummies, through that CAT scan. And the amazing thing is, you're seeing exactly how they lived, what their dental work was like. Did they have gingivitis? We know all of these things now. But we don't have to take the shroud off the mummy, and those linens themselves are such a work of art that the minute that you pull basically like the shroud off of a mummy, or the mummy wrappings, you pretty well destroyed 3,000 years of preservation.
So how many cats were mummified by the ancient Egyptians?
Oh well, a lot of cats. A lot of cats. Believe me, I think I've seen more cat mummies than probably any person in Vegas. And actually, a couple of them have ended up on Pawn Stars, which is pretty fun. So somebody comes to pawn a cat mummy, and Rick is basically like, "How did that get to Vegas?" That's a big story. But everything seems to end up here in one level or another. So tell us, I think one thing that we're very interested in is, what is it like to go inside a Mayan pyramid? What is that experience like?
Well, okay. Now the pyramids are usually solid, except for the little temple shrine at the very top.
Right.
Now the Egyptian pyramids come to a point.
Right.
But for the Maya, the pyramid is a structure for this temple. And almost all of them have a stone temple at the very top, and a few of them have like flat platforms that may have had a wooden temple, or maybe even an observation deck.
Right.
A lot of stuff we don't know. But
they're basically solid then.
They're solid. Yes, yes, and they're filled. In the Puk region, they fill with rubble and concrete.
Okay.
Now it astonished me that the ancient Maya had concrete.
Wow.
I don't know. The Romans had concrete. I don't know why it astonished me, but I found, this is concrete. It must be modern. No, they would build rubble and concrete on the interior, and then face it with stone, because they had no steel tools or iron tools. Everything was carved from stone with stone. So it's essentially a Stone Age technology.
Wow, that's interesting. So the obvious difference here archaeologically would be, in Egypt these were tombs, and among the Mayans these were temples, right?
They were temples. Now there are shrines and things and pyramid type structures that have tombs built into them.
Mm-hmm.
But these are relatively rare.
Right.
They're not unheard of, but they're not strange either. But
Right.
just because there's a pyramid doesn't mean that there is a tomb under it.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it does mean that there are magical offerings that were left there,
Right.
which looters are perfectly aware of where they ought to be.
So there could be treasures inside those pyramids.
Oh, generally at the entrance on the steps is where they tended to place things.
Wow.
Because this was the pathway that you took up.
I see.
Now, the Mayan word for pyramid and mountain is the same word.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And these are structures that their base is on the ground, their top is in the sky.
Right.
And it's a spiritual journey. Now, one thing that when you are climbing Maya pyramids, and you can climb most of them,
Right.
in California they would never let you, it occurs to you that these steps are not ergometric. That
Right.
they're either too wide or they're too narrow to a normal human gait.
Gotcha.
And people think that this was bad engineering.
Right.
But in reality, no. The purpose wasn't to move people up there. The purpose was this is a spiritual journey when you're going up to talk to the gods.
Right.
So that the ascent was built for height, not convenience. Now, how the ancient priests did this over here, wearing their 40-pound headdresses and keeping their dignity, I don't know.
Well, probably a little bit of that Las Vegas showgirl mentality.
I
It's just
suppose
stepping down.
so. Yeah, blowing the trumpets, pounding the drums.
Well, that's very, very fascinating. I just think it's wonderful, and it's a journey I'm sure a lot of us would like to go on to come down there. In your neighborhood
Yeah.
there, how many pyramids are there, would you say?
Okay, the biggest site near us is Uxmal,
Okay.
which is a World Heritage Site.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we think of our hotel as being the best place to stay there. I mean, I'm modest about this, but I cannot lie.
If you're coming to see Uxmal.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. But then there's also, now Uxmal is a place that a lot of people go to.
Right. I've been there. I love that
Okay,
place.
now,
Mhm.
there's the ones like on the coast of Tulum
Right.
and Chichen Itza,
Uh-huh.
which are both wonderful sites, but there are so many tour buses and tourists there that it's really hard to talk to the stones.
Gotcha.
And I have mixed feelings on this. I mean, I like the fact that there are people coming and seeing a real Mayan pyramid. Not a Hollywood picture of it, but a real pyramid. And on the other hand, it's way too many people. So next to us is called the Ruta Puc.
Mm-hmm.
And Puc means hills. And we're in the hilly section of the Yucatan. And here there are much fewer people there. Sometimes you're the only ones there, and you can really just sit back and listen. And which is a very, very different experience. As I say, most of our guests are ones who plan their own itinerary.
Wow.
Just taking it on faith that it's going to be wonderful.
Wow.
And they're rarely disappointed.
And when you listen, what do you hear coming from the pyramids?
Oh, Doc, that's such a difficult and personal sort of
Mhm.
feeling on this.
Mhm.
The fact, that there was energy built in these things. I mean,
Right.
it takes a lot of labor to carve in the stone.
Of course.
And then there were the architects who designed it, and then the priests then going, this is how it's going to be angled, and these are the sacrifices that's going to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them required a human sacrifice.
Hmm.
The Maya did practice human sacrifice, not on the scale of the Mayas was retail, the Aztecs was wholesale. But there's just a sense of spirituality that's there that is still in the stones. And, a lot of people don't necessarily know why they've come. They just
Mhm.
know this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And once they're there, this is where I was supposed to be.
Wow.
And part of my thing is the innkeeper is to talk to guests
Right.
and to try and figure out what is their journey.
Mm-hmm.
What are they looking for? So
Right.
that I can give recommendations and saying, I think you should try this. That if you have limited time, I would choose this over that. If you have unlimited time, see it all.
I love it. Hey, you're also a Burning Man guy, right?
This is definitely true.
Yeah. How many Burning Mans have you been to?
Oh, not as. I've only started in like in '04,
Oh, okay.
and I've been to most, but not all of them since then.
Since '04.
Right.
Well,
right,
that's almost 15 years, right?
It's almost 15 years, but weren't you at the first Burning Man?
I was, yeah. I was.
Okay, now that's hard to top. That's hard to top, Doc.
Yeah, I really had a great experience, and I went back to some of the very first Burning Mans that we had. And then, like everything, it changes. And I think because I'm such a purist, and I was used to the first one, which was actually on the beach.
Yes.
That it lost a little bit for me. But what's your experience like? It seems like you must love it because you keep going back,
I
right?
do, but there is the old burner syndrome.
Yeah.
That when you show up there, well, last year was better than this year, or 5 years ago, or back when they had when you get in the car, moving cars and shoot rifles at targets. Those were the. But okay, each year is different and it evolves.
Right.
And I recall like driving there from Vegas, spending like 8 hours on the road.
Of course.
Showing over there, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I say, why did I come here when I have a perfectly good desert at home?
And a nice, comfortable house.
And a nice, comfortable house.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
Exactly.
But when I wake up in the morning and I hear the music and I smell the dust and just the whole energy of the people there.
Yeah.
Oh, in 14, I went out and I took some pictures of the people at Burning Man.
This is really great.
Really great. James is a really, really great photographer. And this is a book that you have out
of your photos, right?
It's photos, but it is it's unauthorized personal book. Not available in any store.
That is so cool.
But I was out there to try and capture. Okay, my modest proposal for the photo shoot was looking for the face of God.
Oh,
that's a very modest self-assignment. And it worked on this one.
It's cool.
Because generally I'm not a posa parazzi. Walking up to strangers and taking pictures. And here, I didn't ask anybody. Because once you ask them, can I take your picture? Why, yes. And no. I wanted to sense the real feelings of the people there. And it was a very successful assignment. But when I go back, not an assignment, once again, I'm a little too shy to take all the candid pictures. But this was a special case for me.
The pictures are so beautiful, and the people are so beautiful in these photos. Can we ask you what type of camera do you prefer?
I'm a Canon man.
Are you Canon?
I'm Canon. And basically, I'm not saying it's better than Nikon or so, but I have a collection of Canon glass.
Wow.
Therefore, I buy Canon cameras.
Wow, that's a really cool book, and it's called Faces.
It's called
Burning Man 2014 by James Stanley Daugherty. There you have it. Is that available on Amazon?
No, it's not available anywhere. Only through me as a gift.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
During my wedding with Virginia, this was the favor that I gave out to wedding guests.
I received one of these,
you received one of them.
I've looked through it many times and cherished it because I thought, wow, it brought back so many memories to me. And now when I go to Burning Man at this advanced age, I pretty much go as an archaeologist or as a cultural anthropologist. So yes. I'm very interested in polyandrous relationships, all the different relationships that you see going on there, and of course the artistic creations that could be curated, especially if you're Tony Hsieh. He has definitely curated a lot of really wonderful masterpieces from Burning Man that we have here in Las Vegas on Fremont East. And wow, it is a culture in itself, isn't it?
Well, you hear the phrase of clothing optional, which basically means you're okay not to wear any clothes.
Right.
But at Burning Man, every conceivable kind of outfit. You have people there, now you, Doc, are a fabulous dresser.
Well, thank you.
And you can show up on the street dressed as Doc PHINEAS, and you carry your own magic with you. For most of us, going to Burning Man is probably one of the few spots that you can wear outlandish attire
Yeah, right.
and get away with it.
Right, exactly. So a lot of people are probably taking a departure from their humdrum lives, and it's total magic because it's just about creativity. It could be about going completely naked or topless, or it could be about wearing an outlandish, wonderful outfit that is some fantasy.
Or just wearing a dusty T-shirt and blue jeans. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's
really
really great.
True. Now, I've never seen anyone wearing just white lingerie. Leopard skin is cool. Red is okay, but somehow it's if I'm in my king and I'm wearing my white skivvies, I'll either put on clothes or take them off. I just consider that to be déclassé.
It definitely has a tribal feeling to it.
It's definitely tribal there.
Yeah.
And it's difficult with Burning Man. When I'm there, I think of the people who would really enjoy it. When I'm in the exodus for leaving, I think they could cut it back by 2/3.
There you go. Did you ever consider yourself to be a hippie? Did you go through that in the 60s?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was a road hippie then.
And you lived in San Francisco, right? Basically, or from the Bay Area?
I lived in San Francisco, New Mexico, Boston, Florida, Southern California. A lot of places, I was a road hippie. I would stick my thumb out, go to a destination until it was time to move, and then go somewhere else.
Wow, that's really cool.
I had hair down to my shoulders, and people seeing me on the highway would have prejudices about my thoughts about the war, my ideas about drugs, my ideas about sexuality, and they were right about a lot of these things here. And for some, it was, he's one of us. And some, it was, he's one of them. But it was a very magical time. And, I'd started out like in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And en route there, I didn't come with my wallet. Now, I was sitting, my last ride I got in there was in the back seat of a Volkswagen Bug.
Wow.
So the wallet could have scooched out, or they could have lifted whatever there in a town, no money, no ID, don't know anybody.
Wow.
My choices were, I'm going to survive, or I'll survive. That it was forced upon me.
True.
I panhandled.
Wow.
Wow. Able to get a little bit of money, found a place to stay, actually found a temporary job and left with more than I started with.
Wow.
But it was the beginning of going, okay, you can do this.
And Boulder was quite a place in those days. I was there in the 60s. Oddly enough, I was on Berkeley's debate team.
Okay.
And we debated a lot at the University of Colorado. So I did end up in Boulder, and I met some just amazingly cool, wonderful, warm, fabulous people that one night I just got absorbed into this big house that was basically, like a hippie house, like,
Yes.
Like they were running an ashram or something like that, And my gosh, just the warmth and the feeling, it was that same kind of thing that I feel at Burning Man,
Yes.
that I felt at Woodstock. When I went to Woodstock, it was the same feeling of that love and generosity to strangers.
And also like a sense of belonging. Welcome as part of our tribe.
Right,
That
exactly.
when you show up, they just sense you're part of our tribe. And that happens at Burning Man now, and it
does happen at Burning
It
Man.
doesn't happen at a lot of other. It doesn't say it doesn't happen at all, but it's rare elsewhere. But at Burning Man, if you can't find a tribe there, you're doing it wrong.
Well, and back in the day, when I first moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I lived in Haight.
Yes.
And this is like the Summer of Love. I was basically there like in 1969, and people were living in communes.
Yes.
Was basically the idea. And you'd walk down the street in Haight-Ashbury, and if somebody would just walk up to you and hug you on the street, and they would say, "I like your beads," and you go, "Oh, you like them? Okay, they're yours."
Yes.
You just take them off and put them on somebody else and walk away. There was this wonderful feeling of just that we were a family as humanity, and that if somebody liked something that you had, you just gave it away, and nobody was attached, or ownership was kind of communal. And I think you're right. I think that concept is pretty well gone from the normal humdrum world. And the only place you might find that is maybe at a Burning Man, or maybe at a, you know, some kind of concert, you know, like for Stevie Nicks or something. You know, maybe you might find Bob Dylan concert. People are like that, but for the most part, I think that's pretty much gone. Don't you feel that way?
Well, then part of it was a bit of necessity. As a road hippie, I can't accumulate a lot of stuff.
That's true. That's true.
So if I have something, then gifting it becomes very easy. I'll get something else, and I can't accept all the gifts that are given me.
Right.
But I can share them. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, begrudging. No, here, you like it? You're welcome to it.
Of course.
I may never
of
see
course.
them again. You know, but I was glad to give.
Right.
And in Burning Man, they still have that philosophy, and I'm astonished how they've managed to scale it so that the core Burning Man principles are maintained, even though you get in a whole swath of new people who don't know the rules.
Right. Right.
Now, Black Rock City is one of the few cities you've been in where there are no trash cans.
Right. Right.
And yet, there's no litter.
So everything that comes in must go out in
Yes.
Black Rock City.
Right. And if I was to be boorish and toss down a chewing gum wrapper, like 6 people go, "What are you doing, man? You know, what's that loop there?"
Don't litter up the playa.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's a fabulous thing about Burning Man, that there is that sensitivity, and that land there is sacred.
Yes.
And there's an honor and respect for the sort of art and the sort of friendships and the partying that goes on in that spot.
Definitely
on the
partying.
planet.
And I have to admit that in Mexico, the idea of not littering hasn't caught on.
Yeah. A lot of the third world, the idea of littering has not caught on, and I'm constantly scolding people. Like in these countries I'm in, they open up their windows and just basically throw all the trash onto the street.
Yes.
And then that trash, like straws and everything else, blows into the ocean, and we get whales dying, you know, that are completely filled with plastic. So this is a real important message, I think, that sometimes you really have to just be bold and say to people, even though you're traveling, look, don't do that, because this is where that leads, you know?
Well,
so don't poach the animals. If you kill all of the gorillas and just chop their hands off as ashtrays, we're going to end up with no gorillas on the planet. You know, if you kill all of the rhinos just to take their horn because somebody believes that's curative, we're going to lose at the end of the day, because we're losing a species that everybody loves, you know?
Oh, true.
So I just boldly kind of go now. I'm that guy on the playa saying, "Pick up that gum wrapper."
Yes, yeah.
Don't leave it there. And somebody's got to be the teacher, right? Somebody's got to be the teacher that says that and unafraid, you know, in an unafraid way.
Yes. Now we try and use the lure saying, if you want more tourists to come, tourists find this unsightly and they'll go somewhere else. You know?
Right.
So even if you don't think it's important, you know, that if you want to attract tourists, they think it's important.
So, do you think that Burning Man has basically lost its luster, or do you think it's just changing and it's got a lot more life in it?
That's always debatable. As I said, old burners will point back to how Burning Man is ruined now. That, you know, that various things, you know, Burning Man is
way
ruined.
too commercial.
Or these people are doing things they shouldn't be doing. These activities shouldn't, you know, and each year it changes a little bit.
Right.
And on one hand, the thing is that it is morphing.
Right.
You know, now when I was first at Burning Man, there was no cell reception. There was no Wi-Fi. None. And then it got there that if somebody had a hotspot, you could sort of lag onto it.
Right.
And now, you know, it's as good as Boulder City.
Yeah,
but when I go there, I go onto an electronic fast.
Oh,
that
good.
Essentially I do not log into my computer. I may take some pictures with my phone, but I do not communicate. And I tell everybody I'm off the grid.
Yeah.
I don't tell them all I'm going to Burning Man. But for me, the electronic fast is important.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's beautiful. I respect that, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I try to get my students at UNLV to go on an electronic fast, or a fast from technology, and just take a day off. and you know, turn off social media, turn off everything, and just have a day of meditation and see if you're really where you want to be with your life. And I think that's not an unhealthy thing at all to do.
Well, I have to admit, as an innkeeper, I cater to guests. Now, on one hand, we deliberately do not have television in the rooms.
Right.
Because we want people to take in the jungle, to listen to the birds, you know, to
That's
breathe
beautiful.
the air that is,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, to go out at night and with the stars because there's no light pollution, you know, turn the TV off. But the last year we had Wi-Fi in the lobby, but we've added Wi-Fi into the rooms because this is what guests have come to expect, and they will not go to a place if it doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, of course.
And some people are doing their business there. I mean, their
get
money is as good as anybody else's.
Of course.
And in fact, we have some people in the area there that come to our inn just to get away from everybody else.
Just get away from everybody else so
yes.
they can.
But they
That's
do
a great,
use they do
compliment.
use their electronic connection. So
That's a great compliment.
I'm not going to tell people get disconnected. That's not my job. But I try to make it easier for them to not be connected.
There you go. Well, you've heard it right here on Doc Talk. Monsieur Daughtery helps you get unconnected. And that's a good thing, because I think where that goes in my mind, in my heart, is that when you disconnect from all of these trappings of technology that we have in today's modern world, and you're out in a beautiful spot like that that's archaeological and nature and boundless psychic energy, you have an opportunity to look beyond that to the bigger picture of life. And I know how you are. I know that's where you're coming from, is that big picture of look at this niche on the planet and look at those wonderful sites that are preserved, thank God, as heritage sites.
Well, yes, and it's interesting that we're still working on our marketing program.
Cool.
And, you know, as to what kind of people are we trying to attract? I mean, people who can pay their bills is an important aspect, mind you.
Yeah, of course.
But I told them that I want to attract intellectuals and spiritual seekers, because these are the people I enjoy talking to at breakfast.
Well, of course.
So if I'm having my inn, I might as well try and attract people that I find interesting.
Why not? Why not? Make it good for you. You know.
Exactly.
It's so often I think, you know, people think of an inn like Faulty Towers, you know, it's Mr. Faulty going mad, you know, and his wife scolding him, you know, like,
Well,
and I hope it's not like that, but.
Well, it's surprising to me, you know, in the hospitality industry, of how so many have lost sight of what hospitality means.
Well, I think that's true. And there's a certain real je ne sais quoi that I've always felt like both you and Virginia have for your friends. Certainly, you treat us all like princes when we come to your house.
Well, you are a prince, Doc. Of course we treat you like a prince.
But I mean, really, you guys do it so well, and I can only imagine that for those of you out there who really want to travel and really get to see, get off the beaten path in Mexico, and see that ancient culture that is there firsthand, the pyramids of the Mayans, the local cuisine, and the flora and fauna.
And just watching the birds there, or just walking
That's what I
out,
would
you know,
think
on
would
the
be so
jungle
fun.
trails, or just the archaeology. I mean, you know, when I saw it, I had read these books as a young teenager, you know,
Right.
the lost cities of the world, you know.
No, true.
But a picture book isn't the same thing. Watching a National Geo special is not the same thing. You have to go out there, climb the pyramids, touch the stones. Maybe it will do nothing for people. You know, not everybody is tuned in.
Of course.
But for those who are tuned in,
I love it.
you have to be there.
I agree with you, and you know, I'm always posting. Travel is the greatest teacher.
I've
right?
been seeing that. Yes.
So that is definitely, you know, like a very big part of who I am, is that I've learned so much in life beyond my education, formal education, just through traveling and the people I met, James, I just always enjoy talking to you so much.
Doc, it's been delightful.
And tell me, and tell my friends out there, I'm so glad that you got to meet James Daughtery, my dear friend. And how can they find you guys if they're interested in coming down to Mexico and experiencing your scene?
Well, just look up Flycatcher Inn. There's not a lot of them on the planet.
The Flycatcher Inn. And what is the name of your town?
Oh, we're in Santa Elena.
Santa Elena, the Flycatcher Inn of Santa Elena. And do you have a website?
We have a website,
Fantastic.
and if you check out, Flycatcher Inn Mexico, will show up there.
Oh, great.
Or if you check on like for Uxmal, places to stay near Uxmal, we will show up there.
And what is your website?
It's at flycatcherinn.com.
Flycatcherinn.com. Oh, that's easy to find.
I mean, we're on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
As I say, our website's out of date. Our marketing team will someday get everything together. But those who find us will find us.
Well, I think those will be very lucky, whoever has an opportunity to meet you too. And I absolutely have loved having you on Doc Talk. And I think, more power to you, what you guys are out there doing in terms of preserving some of these wonderful sites in Mexico and creating a space where all of us can come down there and experience your world down there that you found, your little Shangri-La. That would be a really blast for many of my people. So.
I'll overtalk you, I'm sorry. I have to admit I've become a hometown booster, that to me it's not a magical place, it's one of the most important places on the planet, but...
And I believe you. I do think that does exist down there south of the border, and so worthy, especially for those of you who are enthusiastic about archaeology. This is a great place to go.
But listen to Doc when he talks about traveling. And in traveling, don't just come to Las Vegas and party. I mean, you can party in Vegas, I mean, don't go to San Francisco to eat crabs and look out at the bridge. I mean, go to a place where you're a little beyond your comfort zone. And that's where you'll find your adventures.
Great. Well, there you heard it from James Daughtery himself. And thank you all for tuning in here at Doc Talk. Once again, we're a weekly show. I'm bringing in people that I believe are movers and shakers, and the most artistic, the most creative and fantastic people, scientists, and we just talk. But hopefully in our conversations, there will be things that inspire you and opportunities to get out there and travel and see the world, because, as I always say, travel is the best teacher. Thank you all, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob.